All right, I was looking at my Delta Roma Imperiale, then I was looking at my Danitrio Mikado, and I thought, fountain pen shootout. Because these two pens actually have a couple of things in common, and they also have a few things not so much in common. But I thought it would be interesting to show them to you side by side. So I'm going to point the camera down, I will talk a bit about them. I have reviewed the pens separately, so you can watch full-blown detailed reviews on both of them. But today let's try to focus on seeing them side by side. Let's do it. Okay, so here we go. I guess I can zoom in a little bit more still. Three interesting pens, right? So on the top here, just for the size comparison, you have a Lamy Emperor, what the hell? A Lamy Safari, which as you can see is a bit smaller than the other two pens, but then these are really big oversized pens, so that is what would be expected. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the Danitrio Mikado. The Mikado in this case, Aka Tamanuri finish. This may look like black, it's actually not black, it's a very deep red, which I absolutely love. A beautiful deep red, and you see around these edges, you see the sort of brighter red, which I think is stunning. This is a pen with a one-way shut-off valve, so to fill it, you unscrew the section, you use an eyedropper, put ink in, and then there is a rod here which you open up, and when you unscrew that, the rod is screwed back and the little seal opens up and ink can freely flow into the section. And that means that if you leave that closed and you keep writing, at some point it will run dry. This pen has a number 8 B.R.E nib with an ebonite feed, and these Danitrio nibs are among my absolute favorite nibs of all time. I think the imprint on these is stunning. It is a stub nib, factory stub, and it is 18K. When I got it, I got this pre-owned from my friend and brother from another mother, Eric, and the nib was very dry. So I sent this to Mike Masayama, the nibmeister, and he did a fantastic job, and now it is a superb nib. But before that it was very hard to use. You actually had to put pressure on it to make it right. So that is a big deal. Now, I can't tell you how much Eric paid for this, simply because I don't know. I do know that I paid $800 US for it. So these are not cheap pens. This is not a $50 pen. None of the Danitrios are. But then they are Urushi, you know, etc. So there's a lot of artistry involved, etc. But not a cheap pen. Then we have this pen, and the reason it got me thinking about doing a shootout is that when you look at the shape, it's not identical, but I'm sure you'll kind of see what I mean, that it's kind of a similar, slightly bulbous shape. I'll show you the section in a second, and you'll see that too. This is the Delta Roma Imperiale, but this is a limited edition made for Airline International. This is actually very limited. There was only 25 of these. You can get these in an ebonite version. This one, the list price was $18.50, and I recall I paid $1,500 for it. So it's a very expensive pen too. The ebonite versions you can often have for a little less than that, if you look around a bit, if you can find one, but you do occasionally see them. And those are all ebonite, so they're not demonstrators, right? This is a number 8 nib as well. I like to think that Delta uses B.R.E nibs as well, but I'm not 100% sure, and Delta is gone now, of course. This is a 14 karat nib. It's very nice. It's a fine nib. It flows very nicely. It has an ebonite feed, and this is a piston-filled system. Some people say captive converter. Yeah, sure, but still a substantial capacity, larger than a standard converter. I measured it. So there is that nice old-fashioned blind cap that works well, and there you have it. So, one thing that I enjoy about the Roma Imperiale is that they don't waste a whole lot of space on the cap. There is a little bit of empty space there, but it's not terrible. There are pens that have enormous caps. Something like the Namiki Emperor comes to mind. This is a beautiful pen, but look at the size of this cap, right? It's, I mean, it's maybe a bit bigger than it absolutely needed to be. Lovely pen, I have no complaints about it, but I like that this Delta, you can see that I think it's a pretty good balance. It's also polished to a disturbing degree because this material really is crystal clear, and that I think is really nice and really cool. So there is that. Both of them are nice, both of them are fatter pens. The last thing I promised to show you was the sections side by side. And Aziza, for example, hates these pens because the sections are very bulbous and not everybody likes that. So I thought that would be another nice reason to do the shootout. The sections have a very similar shape. They're not hourglass shaped, they're actually barrel shaped. And again, this is not for everyone. Not everybody finds this comfortable and enjoyable. So here's what I will do. I'm going to grab a sheet of paper and I'll show you how the pens write side by side. Now, of course, they have very different nibs, but this is what I have, so this is what I can show you. Okay, I'll zoom out a little bit there, and then let's have a look. Simple ink, I just put in Waterman Florida Blue to compare both pens side by side. Let's start with the Danitrio Mikado. Such a lovely nib. The nib is 18K stub, and the ink, as I said, is just Waterman Blue. And Mike Masayama did a superb job on this nib. It is super smooth and it does not skip. It's beautiful. It's also much wetter than it was before without being an excessive gusher, which I really appreciate because that means I can actually use this pen for everyday writing. The Quick Dog, Brown, Jumps, Confusion. Very, very nice. Very nice. And just a pleasure to use. And as I said, I mean, it's I'm just closing that valve, but a bigger pen. Not necessarily in length so much, but it's very girthy. So not everybody would enjoy that. But again, this nib alone is superb. Okay, so we have that. And then we have the Delta, which I think may have a little bit of an edge on the Danitrio in length. Yeah, well, I know you can't see it when I hold them up like this, but I'm just trying to align the ends here. Yes, the Delta is a tiny bit longer, but that is a negligible difference, I would say. So we have that. Now let's write with it. Nice, juicy nib. I'm sure that for some brands, this was the 14K fine. I'm sure that for some brands this would be a medium, but I love it. Another nice thing about this pen is I haven't had it run dry. It keeps going and going and going until it's empty. It doesn't skip, it doesn't hard start, it goes straight away, which is really, really pleasant to use. I mainly, because it is a clear pen and I can't easily disassemble this, I mainly stick to washable blues, hence this blue Waterman that I would not typically put in a Mikado because that's not really a good mix. I mean, it's just not the matching color, the ink in the pen doesn't really work. But, so mainly washable blue in this because I don't want this barrel to stain. But a lovely pen too. So here you have it, two nice large pens. Yes, they are expensive, I know that. Are they worth it? Well, that's up to you. To me they were, and I love using both. Very interesting, not necessarily pens that you run into every day, right? So I thought it would be fun to show them side by side. I hope this was useful. Maybe it's giving you an idea of a pen that you may want to check out to purchase yourself. And that's all there's to it. I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.